Years ago, I solicited my book to Diamond Distributors, the primary and practically only sales vessel for the direct comics market. I spent an entire month calling retailers near and far, trying to get them to order the first issue of Yi Sun-shin. I had everything going for me, but when the order came in, I was shocked to discover that the only thing my efforts led to was an order shy of 500 units. I was so distraught. That was 8 years ago. I remember everyone telling me back then that it was time to ditch Yi and move on to something else. Over the last 2 weeks alone, I've sold over 2,500 books. Yi Sun-shin is now inching closer and closer to hitting 100,000 sales, without a distributor and with extremely limited exposure to the direct market. I have one more show to do in order to bring Battle March to a close and an 8-hour drive ahead of me. I'm not coming back with a single book. Over the next 3 days, they will all be sold. Planet Comic-Con in Kansas City, Missouri has always been a great show for me. But last year, things didn't go as well as I had hoped. The show was held at an odd time of the year, and thus it wasn't as packed and people weren't really eager to buy new comics. It was a tough and brutal weekend, and I won't soon forget it. It ended up being the first show I didn't sell out at for a long time. Truth be told, I contemplated not doing the show at all, but ultimately realized that even with my poor performance last year, I still came out ahead. I'm confident that I can return and sell out again. I secured better positioning this year, and I have a feeling that the showrunners know what they're doing. The drive from Chicago to Kansas City has given me plenty of time to reflect. Lately, I think about all the things that all my contemporaries have going on, and I can't help but feel envious. Then I step back and realize that I've got a lot going on as is, and had I wanted all these other things, I probably could have gotten them a long time ago. But the truth is that I'm satisfied where I'm headed at this point, and it took me a long time to get here, just as it has for my contemporaries. And I may be envious of them from time to time, but I have no idea what challenges they currently face. Jealousy is an emotion no one should ever deny themselves of feeling. It can actually work to your advantage if you use it the right way, but try not to lose sleep over it. If you find yourself feeling frustratingly jealous of someone else's success, think to yourself if their success is what you envision for yourself. We all face tremendous challenges as comic book creators. This can be a very lonely field. We're fighting to get our projects into the hands of new readers in an oversaturated market that shows no signs of slowing down. Now, before I bust out my tiny violin, I should mention that while it's tougher today, there are resources available that allow for anyone to make comics. The beauty of this field is that nothing is impossible. Remember, we're all on our own journeys here, and no two journeys are alike. Be your own best you. Of course, becoming your best self doesn't always mean you're going to feel like your best self. Depending on your mood, this is really hard to pull off sometimes, especially considering that I'm back at a show that I didn't do well at in the previous year. Some wickedly strange things occurred in the first hour of this show. Some of the staff members were constantly circling my area and had really gruff looks on their faces. I felt like they had their eye on me as if I had done something wrong. I felt very intimidated. At one point, 2 convention staff members pulled up in their cart right in front of my booth as I was pitching someone. And despite the fact that I knew I did nothing wrong, I felt like they were coming after me. As it turns out, apparently there was a roof leak right near my area. It was raining so badly outside that the entire convention floor shook when thunderstruck. Twice. I don't know why, but in that moment, right when I heard those booms, I felt like something changed in the air. But I had no idea if this was a good or bad thing. The day ended very well, despite the fact that I had actually performed worse here on the first day compared to C2E2, which was so much harder due to the positioning I had. I called up Dak to tell him my numbers, and though he didn't express it at the moment, he was let down by the actual figures. But at this point, I knew Saturday would be a far superior day. I went to bed easy that night, knowing that this was the case. When you trust your gut, amazing things can happen. Planet Comic-Con has a track record of being one of my highest performing shows. I knew that if the traffic would be as good on Saturday as it was on Friday, that I could make a massive dent in the inventory I brought with me to this show. Day 2 ended incredibly well. So well that when I ran the numbers, I realized that I had once again sold over 500 books in a single day at the show. This was the 4th time this has happened at a convention. By this point, I had now sold nearly 800 books in just 2 days. There is something to be said when one man can sell more books in a single day than what the international distributor couldn't in an entire month. Way back when we hit 30,000 sales, I remember a retailer assuring me that we'd see a decline in sales in the near future. Well, 5 years have passed, and our sales have tripled since this inaccurate prediction was made. Dak and I still have a very good laugh every now and again about this. But of course, we don't hold any grudges, as there are a lot of great shops out there that support us, and we count on that. The point is that the direct market is its own thing, but it is not the end-all be-all. When I started Battle March, I dared myself to become greater and defy the odds. I had no idea what that meant, but I would find out tomorrow. In spite of how well I performed at this show, I got rejected way more times than I made sales. For those of you who see me at shows and think that I sell everyone I pitch, you are sadly mistaken. And after 3 weeks of doing conventions, I was now ready to throw in the towel. In the last hour of the show, I had 40 books left to sell. I felt like I had to move a mountain. The show was dying down. I could have easily packed up and left. I was fighting every urge not to do so after I had just gotten rejected by someone who laughed in my face when I pitched them. My back was hurting. My feet were on fire. I had every reason to quit. By this point, I had sold over 1,000 books. I would not be defeated by the last 40. It was now time to bring Battle March to a victorious conclusion. And that's when I got my second wind. At this point, I finally learned what I meant when I said I wanted to be greater. I realized that I'm not a salesman. I'm a showman. I have a grand vision. That is what I'm sharing with my fans. This is why I will always rise to the occasion. My spirit is indomitable and my strength is unmatched. I am unprecedented, and no matter how much rejection I face, I will always come out on top. And even if my books don't always sell out, I will never be defeated. Over the course of the last 3 weeks, both Yisungshin and Marks have sold over 3,700 books and have sold out at 3 major conventions. That's 7 times the amount from that order Diamond placed all those years ago. May the events that you saw unfold before you during Battle March stand as proof that nothing is impossible, Victory Seekers. If you have heart and you have drive, you can succeed. You can make this work. Thank you all so much for joining me on this grand adventure. Battle March has made me realize where Onward with Onrie needs to go next, and so we'll be taking a bit of a hiatus for now. But rest assured, we'll be back soon with brand new episodes for you to feast on. Stand tall, and until we meet again, onward to victory!